Shalom and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, Nicole, and I'm here to update you on what's going on in my life. Today is Thursday, May 10th, which is crazy. I leave Israel in less than a month. And yesterday, Wednesday the 9th, I went on a tour to Hebron. Hebron is one of the biggest cities in the West Bank. It has 200,000 Palestinians living in it, but what is interesting is that there are 850 Jewish people living in the heart of the city. And so with that, there are 500 soldiers around them protecting them. So Hebron is a very interesting place. Just a little more knowledge. The West Bank, or some people call it Palestine, is on the west bank of the Jordan River, even though it's on the east side of Israel, okay? And yeah, it's a pretty large territory. This is the territory that Israel gained in the War of 1967 when they gained the Golan Heights and the Sinai Peninsula and the Gaza Strip. And so they're doing different situations with each of these territories, but as far as the West Bank goes, they did win it over in the war, but people consider it like an occupied territory. Israel is occupying the West Bank because they haven't granted the Palestinians living there full citizenship. A lot of them have Jordanian citizenship, actually. And they just have a lot of military presence there. There's three areas. Area A, which is actually under the Palestinian control, the PA Authority. Then there's Area B, which is a mixture of both. Which is like the farmlands, not as rural areas, whereas A is the big Palestinian cities. And then Area C, is totally controlled by Israeli government, and that's where a lot of the settlements are. And so I think actually like 70% is Area C controlled by Israel. And then, yeah, the other two, A and B, are the rest. Okay, so a little bit more. Okay, so an interesting fact about Hebron, I'm just taking my notes. So I went on a tour with Breaking the Silence, and this is actually a controversial group because, I don't know, it's a large group, so of course a lot of people place judgments on certain aspects, but it is basically a group of military soldiers who had finished their work in the IDF. IDF is Israeli military. And they are against the occupation and what's going on in Hebron and in other cities in the West Bank. And so they give tours to just explain what's going on there. And so I went on one because I'm really interested in knowing what's going on there. And I'm glad that I went. However, these tours, this group is also looked at as they don't like Israel and they don't support the state and they just want to withdraw all military forces from the West Bank. And I don't know if that's necessarily true, but we just have to be careful when we're talking about this group because it is actually very controversial. And so I'm not going to say that I agree with everything this group said or that I support this group. Because actually, I was talking with my friends last night and they brought up a really good point is what is the point of what this group is, what is their goal? And if their goal is really to change the situation, and help the Palestinians, and I think that actually they could be doing that in a different way than how they're doing it right now. Because right now, it's really great to educate the world, of course, but maybe they should be educating more the Israel military, the government, because they're the ones who are really going to be making the changes. So I don't know if they've tried to do that, I don't know. But that is a really good point, because they're the ones who sort of cause the soldiers to do what they, or allow the soldiers to do what they do, which I'll explain what they do. Anyways, so let me actually start out with something very interesting, is the story on the walls of some buildings in Hebron. And so, let's see, they have like 4 different wall panels, and the first one says, "The roots of the Jewish people in Hebron. The biblical era. Hebron is the city of the patriarchs and matriarchs, which is Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and their wives, Rachel, Leah, Sarah, and there's one more, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name. And so it's the capital of Judea and the site of the onset of King David's reign. Okay, so they started out in the biblical roots, which is fine. And then they talk about the 10th and the 9th century. Hebron is one of the holiest cities in the land of Israel, a community of Torah, charity, and kindness. Okay. And then they move on to the destruction. In 1929, there were Arab martyrs who slaughtered the Jews, and the community is uprooted and destroyed. So this is obviously a very long timeline if we're starting from Abraham, and then we get up to 1929 pretty quickly. And then the last one is in 1967, liberation of Hebron and reestablishment of the Jewish community. The children have returned to their own land, and they took that from Jeremiah 31:17. Okay, so this is just the reason these Jewish people have come to settle in the city of Hebron. They say that they have roots there, and so just a little bit backtrack, a settlement. A settlement is a group of Jewish people who go and move in the West Bank, which is a territory that is not really, I don't know, it's actually really confusing because Israel did win this territory over, but I think it's actually unlawful to have this territory, so I don't know if actually the whole entire community recognizes, the whole entire international community recognizes this as Israel, and so if you look on a map, that's why there's a dotted line there. I am not exactly sure, but anyways, so they're moving out of the official country of Israel, moving into the West Bank, and they're settling there. And so this is why they believe it to be true, is because Abraham, they're descendants of Abraham, and this is Salah's land. And I'm very pro-Israel. I think that, yes, God did promise this land to the Jewish people, but I also think that if you can't move into a place and kick everybody out, and if you feel like you need 500 military soldiers to be protecting you, then maybe you shouldn't be living there, if you're not really trusting in the Lord, right? So just my point being that yeah, a lot of the settlements, they have so much military protection, and why is that necessary? It's not, they think it is necessary because there is conflict between the Palestinians who live there, and of course it's because the Palestinians were living there earlier. And so this is what I'm saying is, in 1967, the U.S. government told the settlers, no, you cannot move to a lot of these places in the West Bank. Because if you're saying, look, I was living there before, my descendants were living there before, which is true, there were people in the 20s and before living in cities in the West Bank. But then there was those riots, and Palestinians moved into these places. And so the settlers are asking for a right to return. They say, okay, it's 1967 now. We've gained back the territory. We want to move back to our homes. However, Palestinians have been living in these homes for 40 years now, and in some areas even longer. This is just 1929, the riots in Hebron. And the government declined, and the reason for this being that they deny the Palestinian right to return. A lot of Palestinians lived in Israel proper, and they're not allowing them to come and just move back in their houses that were lost in the wars in 1948, 1967. They're not allowing the Palestinians to just come and move back and gain citizenship and live in Israel. So why should they allow the Jewish people to go and reclaim their land? And so I think that was good of the Israel government, because my main thing is, I guess I shouldn't say fairness, because obviously nothing is fair. Life isn't fair. But I think that this was the right decision to make. And also, yeah, we'll get to another thing later. Anyways, in April 1968, a settlement begins in Hebron. So they were told not to by the government, but they still continued on. And after that, the settlements are actually used, and they're strategically placed as a buffer zone. And so I have a map somewhere. Got this on the tour. And here it is. So this is a map of the city of Hebron. And the settlements are strategically placed to, I don't know, they're just trying to spread out the land. They don't make them right next to each other. And even here, they don't make them right next to each other. They're just trying to get more land. Anyways, I'll look at this map later. So in response to Palestinian violence, the Israeli government builds more settlements. So that's actually why they are spreading them out, because then you have a buffer zone, right? So we're getting back to the map already. I don't know where actually the first settlement was. This is a new settlement point. But this is one of the largest settlements in the city of Hebron, Kiryat Arba. And they built this one here for security, for protection. If there, like, I'm sure there was Palestinian violence. And when you build this one here, then this whole area becomes no Palestinians can go. So that's actually, we need to look at the key. The red line is a place where Palestinians cannot even go at all. So this Hebron, like I said, is one of the biggest Palestinian cities in the West Bank. Oh, the lighting got really weird. And it's completely changed. And so the pink line, they can walk on, but they can't drive. And so that's a big part of the city, the major part of the city, when this was the downtown area, and now a lot of them can't even go. So we'll also talk about that. And how that all began is there was some Israeli violence. And so some settlers, I forget exactly the story, but they maybe killed some Palestinians. And in response to that, the Israeli government punished the Palestinians, and they didn't see it as a punishment. They saw it as protecting themselves for retaliation, because the settlers did this bad thing, and of course the Palestinians, I'm sure, want to pay that back. And so to not have that happen, the Israeli government put a curfew. They had to go to bed at not go to bed, but I mean be in your house at 8 p.m. for 2 months. Can you imagine that? And during that time, the city actually completely changed. So Israel made these new laws about the roads. They made more settlements, and just crazy. Another note is that the Palestinians and the settlers are under different laws. And so that's why a lot of things happen the way they do. And the settlers, because they're technically in Area C, they're under Israeli law. This is Israel. And the Palestinians are under military law. They don't actually have rights. They don't have Israeli citizenship, yet they're being controlled by the Israeli military. And she just gave a few examples of different crimes that people committed, where a Jewish settler shot and killed a Palestinian, maybe not shot, maybe somehow killed, I don't know if they, anyways, and he got 9 months in jail. And maybe it was for protection, maybe the reason the settler killed this person was because he was trying to kill him. I don't know the full story. But anyways, he also gave an example of a Palestinian killing an Israeli, and they had 9 years. It's just totally different punishments. Or no, I don't even know. She didn't even say a Palestinian killing an Israeli. She gave the story of a Palestinian slapping an Israeli soldier and had 9-month punishment. The same punishment that a killing for a slap of soldier. So that was really interesting. She also brought up the example of 12-year-old little boys. If it's a Palestinian boy, they're considered an adult. And if you throw a rock at a car, you can go to jail. Whereas the Jewish little settler boys are obviously a minor, and they really can't be punished. And people, they can really just throw these rocks, and the government, the soldiers, they don't do anything about it. Which is, I hope actually some of this stuff isn't true, because, I don't know, just seems terrible. There's really bad situations. Okay. Also, I talked about the curfew. They had another curfew. So, first Intifada and second Intifada, these are Palestinian uprising. And after the second Intifada, the Palestinians in Hebron had eight-month curfew, which is, again, crazy. And again, after that, the city changed a lot. I want to look back at this map and just explain to you a little bit about the area. So this is the best one, if you can see. H1 is the biggest part, because obviously 200,000 Palestinians. And this is Area A. This is under Palestinian control. And then this is H2, and it goes in here. And that's where this map zooms in. And this is where the settlements are. H2 is Area C, controlled by Israel government. And so you can see Like, this is a zoomed in map of this portion. The Israeli settlements are really just digging into the heart of the city. And that's why they need so much protection, is because they have Palestinians all around them and Palestinian Authority. So it's very, like, different. It's like the border of a country, except it's not, I don't know, it's very different. So anyways, the Palestinians who live in H2, because there are Palestinians living under Israeli rule and living around the settlements. And that's what was really interesting. Like, when we were on our tour, we were walking around this area. And so I'm going to show you pictures and videos of life for them. But anyways, 70% of Palestinians living in the area around the settlements are, like, within and not in the Palestinian side, 70% are unemployed. And yeah, H2, the settlement area is only 20% of the land. Okay, so now let's get looking at some things that I saw. First of all, I'm just going to show you Market Street. This is one of the biggest bustling streets, and now it's completely empty, and that's actually the title of this, Hebron, the Ghost Town. Because after Israel made all these changes, Hebron, the really dynamic changed. And you can still go to H2, or is it H1? You can still go to H1, the area ruled under Palestinians. And obviously, 200,000 people, it's still a huge city. But the heart of the city has completely changed. And so this street used to be, you know, big, bustling around. And now it is empty and nobody uses it. The buildings are all shut down. And I just want to show you, there's so much military presence in this city. It's very, very crazy. I want to read to you a few different signs that were up around. So this says, these buildings were constructed on land purchased by the Hebron Jewish community in 1807, which this is true. This land was stolen by Arabs following the murder of the 67 Hebron Jews in 1929. So I told you in 1929 already, the Palestinians, they murdered Jews, so the Jewish community moved away. This is also true. And then this is what the Jewish people say. They say, we demand justice, return our property to us. And this is the part that is a little bit different, because the Jewish community in 1807, they were living with no military forces around them. They were living in community with the Palestinians. They had, a lot of Palestinians had actually saved some Jewish settlers during this time of riot. And it was a completely different situation. These new Jewish people who are wanting to move in, they are not like the same, obviously the same bloodline through Abraham, but they're not the same, really, like, close relative family. And they have very different views, and the settlers from 1807 don't agree with the settlers now. And so to say that this property is ours, no, like, if, you know, my fifth cousin has property, it's not my property. Anyways, so this sign is really interesting. Okay, and then another one, it says, after signing the Hebron Accords in 1997, Hebron was divided, leaving Jews with access to 3% of the city. Jews were restricted to only one street, 1 kilometer long. In 2000, Arabs launched the Oslo War, aka the Second Intifada. I've never actually heard the Oslo War. A terror against Hebron's Jewish residents and visitors. Following numerous attacks and casualties, the stores were closed by military orders for security reasons. Large, thriving commercial and shopping centers off limits to Jews are open in the Arab part of the city. So this is just really interesting, obviously on the Jewish side. And I don't know, we can take it step by step. It's really the opposite of saying, like, the Jews have this one part of the city, maybe for a very short distance, but that's not true anymore. The Jews have areas where only they can go. The Arab market, yes, has moved, but why is that important? It was in this special place, and now, okay, now it's in a different place because we kicked you out. It just doesn't make sense. This sign was all over the place. This was a sign I just want to talk about a little bit. We went down the street, and one side is Jewish settlers, and the other side is Palestinians. And so who can walk on this street? Only Jewish settlers. The Palestinians cannot exit their front door. They have to go out the back door, go on roofs, to go around these roads that they cannot even walk on. There are roads on this map, the red lines, that Palestinians cannot even walk on, yet they're living in that street. So this is a sign that was on the window, and it says, "Caution, this was taken by Israel. You are apartheid." And like, Israel took these Palestinian lands, so that was interesting on a Palestinian window. Yeah, it's just crazy what's going on. And so a lot of these Palestinian sides are really blocked up. It's so interesting to walk down the street and see the Jewish side and the Palestinian side. And why are and I should have asked our guide actually, why are these Palestinian sides really blocked up? And I think it's actually because settler violence. It is very true. There's many stories of settlers like throwing rocks at the Palestinians. Also, obviously, the other way around. But it's different. Like, why is only the Palestinian side protected? Palestinians can't even. It's because first of all, the Jewish side don't need to be protected because the Palestinians can't even go out this door. But it's just so crazy. Just trying to look at these pictures that I took. We saw this little Palestinian girl and Palestinian kids in the areas that they could be in. They're just obviously so cute. We just saw, some Jewish members on the street walking where the Palestinians couldn't be walking. And just really interesting to see the houses of the Palestinians really blocked up. And so sad that they can't even go down on their street. We saw a few military bases, many soldiers. We also saw, I thought it was really interesting, there's a Jewish rabbi that people think Jewish people think is the Messiah. And so we saw a picture of him in Hebron. Thought that was interesting. We also saw this big festival, which happens a lot downtown Jerusalem, where these Jewish people, they come and they bring this big van, they bring music, and everybody dances. And they did that in Hebron, and I just was... Normally when I see it in Jerusalem, I'm like, oh, wow, that's so fun, great. But when I saw it in Hebron, it was just sad because they were doing it on this road. Here's the road where the Jewish people can be, and only the Jewish people, and then here's the road where the Palestinians, and they're just like... Jewish people right here on this corner are making all this ruckus, singing all these songs, and the Palestinians are just right here, and it didn't feel the same. It didn't feel like this joyful time when the Jewish people can just say, like, yeah, dance around and have fun. It's just like, why have you chosen this location? Why are you really just annoying these Palestinians who can't come over? And I don't know. It's really interesting. One last thing is we saw the tomb of the patriarchs. So I told you that, Abraham and the patriarchs, Isaac, whatever, the wives, were here. And they were actually buried here. So you can read in the Bible that Abraham purchased this land as a plot for his grave. And so I was really excited to go and see this. And I did get to see it from the outside. But I didn't get to go inside. And the reason for that being the Israeli soldier told me that I could not enter because I was part of the group breaking the silence. And a lot of Israeli soldiers, they don't like this group because it's true, they're showing flaws within the system of the IDF, of the Israeli military. They're like telling stories of bad things that the IDF soldiers did. They're telling just problems with the Israeli government. So of course a lot of people don't like that. And because I was part of the group, they didn't let me go into the tomb. And because there's obviously soldiers all around. And I was just relating it back to, like, these soldiers, these 20-year-old soldiers, are just making so many decisions around the area of, like, on a day-to-day basis. Obviously the government has control, obviously the military has control, but you are the guy on the ground. And when you see things happening, when you see the day-to-day life of Palestinians, it's your responsibility to not just judge people because they're on this group and think, oh my goodness, they are pro-Palestine. And I'm pro-Israel. I love Israel and I love the Jewish people. I also love the Palestinians. And I want a place for everybody to live. But I don't know, he was just judging me because I was in this group and he wouldn't let me go on. And I was pretty upset because he can just make all of these decisions. Why does he have the power to do this? Obviously I'm not going to harm anybody going up there. It's just, Anyways, that was one thing. I also wanted to say we went to a checkpoint And yeah, you can just see the Palestinians. The reason for this checkpoint is they don't want anybody who doesn't live on the street to go there. So in some terms, they can't even walk on the street, but in some terms, the Palestinians, they can go on the street, but only if they are directly living in that house. So that means your friends can't come over and enter through your front door. But it was just interesting to see the Palestinians walk through this checkpoint, like on a day-to-day basis. They go to get groceries and have to walk through this. Yeah, it's just a really crazy situation going on in Hebron. And I think this is actually a really unique situation, but there are many cities in the West Bank with settlements also, and yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that this is real life for people, that the settlers and the Palestinians are living like this. Outrageous. It's really outrageous. It's super, super outrageous, and I wish I knew more on the situation. I'm not educated well, but yeah, don't take everything that I said as the truth. Obviously, everybody has their own opinion on what's going on. And I mean, I hope you're not offended of any even words that I say, like Palestine, the West Bank. My real, the opinions that I do have is that, these are my opinions, is that the land of Israel is promised to the Jewish people. But I almost am agreeing with, I don't know if I should say this though, like Haredi Orthodox Jews who are like the opposite of Zionists, and they don't think that people should be going and settling on the land. Okay, no. Because the reason I say that is because if you are going to move somewhere and you're going to need 500 military soldiers to protect you, then don't move there. This obviously isn't, I mean, you wouldn't consider it a safe area. Why is it so important? And I don't know, I really don't know. I should stop talking because I don't know. But Israel does belong to the Jewish people, but Palestinians should be able to live with Israelis. They maybe should gain citizenship to Israel, and they should be able to live in communion and neighbors like they did in 1800s, the Jewish community and the Palestinians. Why can this not happen? Why, if settlers are moving into this place and they're really making walls and ruining the city and dividing it, then this obviously is the place for you. But if you can move there and you can live amongst the Palestinians, then great. And so that's my opinion. I think that, yeah, not that I'm opposed to, I mean, I actually don't know my full opinion on settlers, but I do, obviously, okay, I want to go to Hebron because this is where my ancestors were. Okay, then move there like the 1800 people and live amongst the Palestinians. Don't make these walls in a circle around you. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's all I got. 30 minutes of me talking, mumbling around, struggling to tell you about this tour that I went on to this city that has a crazy situation where people are living in basically prison. The Palestinians, they have curfew. They are not treated correctly. Really sad situation. And I don't blame this on the Israeli government or the IDF soldiers, but I do think that this has been going on for 50 years, and it needs to change. And I think the only way it's going to happen is peace. And so I pray for peace through Jesus Christ. Peace through Jesus Christ among the Palestinians and the Jewish people. Yeah, because, yeah, just a real side note, but the Antichrist is coming and he is going to bring peace. And it's going to seem good, but it's false peace. It's not real peace. And after I don't know how many years, people are going to find out. And yeah, they're going to find out, oh my goodness, we have been deceived. And so don't be deceived. Pray for peace through Jesus Christ, the true peace. And yeah, I do believe that one day the Jewish people and the Palestinians will be friends. And let's just hope that sooner rather than later, because right now, this occupation, whatever's going on in the West Bank, in a lot of these cities, is wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. But again, how do you solve this without true peace from Jesus? Because the Palestinians can be dangerous, and the Jewish people need protection, and all this stuff. yeah, crazy stuff. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please ask, and I'll try to find an answer. If you have any opinions, please be kind about them. Yeah, please don't be offended by anything I said, and please correct me if I'm wrong in any way, okay? Thank you for watching this long video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.